Welcome to another episode of Just Because Live. I'm Chris Nicolason, your host, and today I am honored to be joined by Peri Boltz of the Eclectic Company. Peri, thanks for joining us and coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And so, Peri, the way I generally like to start is I like people to give us some background and some context as to where they came from and how they got here to where they're at today. So where are you from, Peri?
I'm from Idaho originally.
Really?
I have been in Colorado Springs on and off for about 10 years. Originally brought here by the Air Force.
Oh, nice.
Had a stint in Germany as well for 2 years, but otherwise Colorado Springs has been my home since 2010.
Interesting. And where at in Idaho?
Near Boise, so little tiny town between Boise and the Oregon border.
Gotcha. Very cool. Okay. And then, so did you end up going, so you obviously member military family?
My husband, my ex-husband. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
So then traveled around quite a bit.
Yep.
Any schooling then in between any of that for you to get you from here to here?
Yeah. So, finished my undergrad at UCCS.
Okay.
And then living here in the Springs, did an online program, for my master's, which was industrial organizational psychology.
Wow. Okay. So that's a long-term title for a
Yeah.
master's. So what exactly I've heard of psychology, obviously.
Sure.
Can you kind of break that down for us a little bit?
Definitely. So similar to an MBA, but really just the human side of business. So placing people where their skill sets, mainly lie, job description and breakdown and analysis, and really strengths coaching and things like that.
Oh, interesting. So then now you just touched on something I'm a big fan of. So I'm a big fan of Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. And then that Jim talks a lot about getting the right people on the bus, but then also putting them in the right seats on the bus. Is that kind of something that it's on?
Yeah. Yep. So how can you use people's strengths, their inherent strengths? How can you grow their abilities? Things like that. So definitely has served working with a diverse community and things like that. So yeah, just think human side of business is really all. It's called IO, psych is kind of the layman's terms. But yeah, that's all that is.
Interesting. And then so with that too, one big thing in my mastermind communities that's been talked about a lot lately is when hiring, and even within ourselves as the leadership team, is doing, like the skills tests and things like that. So like a DISC test or Colby or other things. Are there certain tests out there that you use, or did you use any like that?
I've always been a big fan of Myers-Briggs. I never was able to really grow in that role. I've always been in business operations, utilizing bits and pieces of that degree program, but never been in kind of a hiring manager role where I can kind of dig into those tests. But I love tests like that as well. DISC is a big one. Like I said, Myers-Briggs. So that's my jam, but never been able to kind of professionally explore those.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. Okay. So then you end up here in Colorado Springs. And then, so now you're the owner and founder of the Eclectic Company. So how did you get from kind of coming here, getting your degrees to that jump?
Sure. So Starbucks is a really big stepping stone for that. So I actually am still employed with Starbucks. I do part-time there, but I was a store manager for them for about 5 years, opened several stores, really worked within that leadership structure, eventually decided that store operations wasn't for me, and that social impact was really where my passion lies and where I really wanted to be. So after trying to pursue social impact inside of Starbucks, that's a really small office inside of a massive corporation. There's only 4 people in the country that do social impact for Starbucks.
Oh, wow.
So after that, not working out, I really was just on the hunt for how can I be more community based? How can I be more social impact minded? And working with Colorado's Institute for Social Impact, CI, they're based here in the Springs. Working with them just really opened my eyes to this plethora of social impact businesses that are really thriving here. There were a lot of people that had kind of conceptual things going on at that time. This was in 2018. And really that just planted a seed. So I knew that social impact was where I wanted to be. And I visited a pop-up here in the Springs in August of 2018 that was called Women of the Future. That was founded by two of our now vendors. So visited that just as a shopper, as somebody that likes to support local, that likes to support women-owned businesses, and met these really incredible makers that were living that side hustle, like living that pop-up life, hauling their stuff around from farmers markets to pop-up markets, and I really just decided there had to be a better way. There was a better way for makers to be profitable, to have their wares in a space that is full-time and permanent. And also there's a better way for consumers. As a consumer that likes to support local and be really conscientious with my purchases, I knew that I would want to shop at a place, 7 days a week. And so, yeah, it really just started to come together at that point.
Nice. Very exciting. And so then talk to me too. So when was the first store founded?
Yeah, so November 1st of 2018 was when the first store opened. It just so happened between that August time period and November was when the Downtown Partnership was opening their holiday pop-up program. That's something they've done for 6 or 7 years now. And that is a program that pairs concept retail or brand new retail with empty spaces downtown. So it's kind of a win-win for the community. There's no empty spaces during the busiest retail time of the year. And it gives people a chance with a little bit of financial backing to see if their concept works. So we were part of that in 2018, opened November 1st. That is a 2-month program, kind of a pilot program. And our November, December we just knew this, we were onto something really, really special, and continued to sign leases from that point on.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I do have to step back a little bit too, because you said too, even right now, you're still part-time employed with Starbucks. Is that right?
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I think too, I've got 2 daughters myself. It's one of those things that even for me, my first year of lawyering after I got out of law school, I actually waited tables part-time too. I think it's that thing, because you talk about the idea of the side hustle. And so even for my brother and I talk about that a lot, is like, it's that idea of kind of not just resting on your laurels, but still getting out there and doing things to make things happen so that your dreams can actually still come true.
Totally.
So,
yeah, that support job, that support role, that, waiting tables or being a barista or whatever it is, can be huge. And, just being sure that you can fully you take a leap of faith by opening a business, right? But still having something to hold on to. In my case, it's benefits. I need Starbucks for the benefits as a small business owner. So yeah, just keeping that kind of grounding of a support job has been important so far, but I'm hoping I don't have to do it much longer.
Absolutely. And for me at least too, the one thing I found, because I had done it full time prior to going to law school, and then I had found that whenever I came back part-time, I actually really enjoyed it a lot more. And I don't know if you've experienced that as well.
Yeah, I have too. So, having it not be your full-time thing, just getting to kind of come in, have fun, enjoy your coworkers, and then go home and not have to take home the responsibility of managing a store. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Awesome. And then you touch on something too. So talking about, sustainability. So there's a Simon Sinek book about finding your why. Yeah. Can you kind of talk about that? Was that a hard thing for you to find? Was it something that was already internal with you? Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I love Simon Sinek. So yeah, my why has always been community, social impact, bettering the environment, all of those things. And Eclectic really is a why. Like that is the sole purpose of why we're here, is the why piece. So supporting small and micro businesses, supporting upcycled goods. We have several businesses that rescue things from the waste stream and make new things out of them. And so that's always been the why, is the social impact, the community impact. And it really does help to keep that at the center of your focus. So if something's not working, you just go back to the why and kind of problem solve from there. So yeah, I've always been a big fan of that philosophy.
Excellent. And so now you've been open a little over 2 years. Can you talk about now from the very beginning to now how things have changed or expanded for you guys?
Yeah, it's really crazy to see the trajectory. So that holiday pop-up program, I had 12 makers on board that said, if you get this off the ground, we're there, we're willing to give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that quickly escalated to about 25 artists. We have about a 2,800 square foot space. And so for the first few months, we'd only filled half the space. We had a little rope like blocking off the space. We quickly filled up. We then had to start a waiting list. So things really just kept exponentially growing. In September, around that time of 2019, I brought on a store manager, Ani Barrington. She is now my full business partner.
Nice.
And we really, this thing just kept growing and growing. And it really took two of us to be able to manage. And then when the opportunity to open a second space that just felt like the right fit geographically, it felt like the right fit aesthetically. When that came up for us this year, we were really excited to tackle that, to be able to bring on some of these artists that have been on our wait list for quite a long time. And even with opening a second store, with bringing on about 30 new artists from our wait list, our wait list is back to, 100 and whatever plus people. So yeah, the concept, just the model and the concept really just speak for itself. And we're constantly being sought out by new artists, and we're just really excited to be able to continue to bring in new artists into the fold and be able to pick the best of the best and fit for culture and personality fit, not just the things that they make. And so those are kind of the lessons that we're learning as we grow, is how important those culture fit and values fits are as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You just touched on some things that I absolutely love, our culture and values. And so I want to talk for a minute, because I'm actually in a partnership as well so you started off as a solo, so just you. Yep. And that's a big step for a lot of people, actually, is choosing then to bring somebody. So it's like another marriage almost.
Yeah.
And so how has that been for you in bringing in a partner, and what things does she bring to the table to really help you out?
Yes. Well, I could gush all day about that. So
Me too.
Yeah. So Ani has always been just like the perfect culture fit. She's leads with servant leadership, and she's been a vendor from the start as well. So that was kind of a natural progression. And bringing her into a management role, I just saw how well we complement one another, and how well our skills were really suited for helping one another. And so, increasing our partnership and how much we were doing together, it was just really a natural progression when she was ready to come into the company as a partner. And so that wasn't something that I had anticipated doing so soon in the company, but it was just really a no-brainer. And the things that she brings to the table are this incredible way of relating to all of our vendors, and really meeting them where they're at and inspiring them. And just from the purely business standpoint, she has a lot of the human resources skills and aesthetic skills and things like that, whereas I'm a little bit more on the numbers side and things like that. So, just practically we kind of balance each other out, but also personality wise, it's just been the best fit. And we are so excited of, what we can do in the future, and how much more, help we can bring to small and micro businesses and this community, and hopefully, future communities as well.
Perfect. Oh, that's great. I really think, and you having that partner too that can complement you on the areas where you're, not even necessarily weak, but not as strong as, you are in other areas. And so I think that is absolutely key. Yeah, and it's vital to have those like hard conversations at times too, and say, look, you've got to call me out, and vice versa. Like, it just has to be that open and honest relationship with a partner.
Yeah. I'm super fortunate, and Eclectic is super fortunate to, have two leaders that really just care so much about them.
Right. So then let's talk next too. So you opened in November of 2018, and then you guys are going along, and then all of a sudden too, a global pandemic hits, and it hit everybody. And it hits everybody in different ways. But then even through that, and I want to talk for a minute about how you guys have handled the pandemic, but then also even during the pandemic, you guys now then have decided to open up and did open up a second location. So can you talk about not only how you've handled it, but then the choice to make that jump and open up and grow during the pandemic?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I remember really clearly March 13th when, things were just starting to happen. There was a lot of questions. There was a lot of uncertainty around what was going to happen. And because we serve so many people, so many different just people at different stages of their life, whether it's autoimmune diseases, people caring for their elderly parents, people with young children, like we really span the whole gamut that we didn't want to take any chances. So we closed down on March 14th. We were closed for 9 weeks and really just quickly pivoted our business model to online home deliveries, nationwide shipping. At that time, curbside deliveries weren't allowed either. So it was really just Ani and I were in the shop every day, photographing and taking videos and taking special requests and things like that. And really just bending over backwards to make any sale that we could. And that really gave us a time to focus on our online, which was not something, it's something we'd always wanted to do, but just never had the bandwidth. Because that's not where we thrive. So, having the time to really photograph a bunch of new products and write really thoughtful descriptions and decide what we wanted on our website, things like that. So, it was a weird time to change our priorities and just kind of pivot, right? So, and then as everything changed over the months, we slowly opened for curbside delivery and personal shopping appointments and really just kept up in any way, shape, or form with what was allowed by the state, what our vendors and our customers felt comfortable with. We sent out a few surveys saying like, where are you at? Are you ready to come back in person? Or and really just keeping a finger on the pulse of what was going on in our community. So being really nimble and pivoting constantly, daily on how we were doing things. So that was really the early part of our experience. And then as things started to change and we started to reopen, we realized how much this community was really rallying around small business. So the Support the Springs campaign sprung up in March or April, like early on. And people really just wanting to rally around local restaurants, local retail. And we just saw that so prevalently and so strongly from our community, and knowing how many artists there were still to serve. So we really felt like the pandemic accelerated whatever was going to happen in your life. If your creative hustle was going to become your full-time or semi-full-time thing, the pandemic really pushed that. Or if you were gonna, need to transition and let your creative business go, that happened as well. It really just accelerated what, maybe was already going to happen in the future. So yeah, to answer your question, just staying nimble and keeping our eyes peeled for opportunities. We knew that unfortunately the pandemic would, cause some people to go out of business. And while that really hurts our community, we knew that it could potentially open real estate opportunities for us and things like that. So
prior to the pandemic, was it something you guys were kind of had as a vision down the road for that second spot?
Yeah, so we'd been toying with some things. We'd been approached by the Denver airport in January. Wow. So we had kind of vetted that opportunity and it just didn't feel like the right fit, but it really got us in the mindset of, okay, if this is going to happen, these are the steps that need to happen between now and then. And we really prepared our vendors that we thought were close to being able to support 2 locations. We really prepared them for that and just said, look, unfortunately, the airport is not that opportunity. Thank goodness. Yeah. But, just know that this is where our head is. This is where we're headed. And so it was something that was on our radar for quite a while. But we really were just waiting for that perfect opportunity and we got it in October.
Perfect. So then for everybody watching then, do you want to tell us then to where your original location is and currently at, and then where your new location's at?
Yeah, I would love to. So the flagship store is on Tejon Street, right across from Acacia Park. 214 and a half is that address. So think between Skirted Heifer and Jose Muldoon's.
Okay. Yep.
So just right there, Terra Verde. We're in really great company on this block. Yeah. So yeah, great block there. And then our second location is not too far. It's about 2 miles away from our flagship in Old Colorado City, on Colorado Avenue between 25th and 26th. Okay. If you know where the Snow White like laundry service is, we're directly across the street from that.
Okay, excellent, very good.
Yeah,
that is awesome. So then talk to me too, like if I, like I had told you before we got on, I had worked in retail for a long time. And whenever I go, I worked at some big box stores. Mm-hmm. And so whenever I did that, obviously they've got their own feel and things like that. Yeah. What does it feel like then walking into a spot where technically, even though it's one store, sounds like it's actually a bunch of different stores all in one. So Totally. How does that feel and what's that experience like?
Yeah, it was really fun, actually. So between the two stores, we serve about 80 artists and vendors. So that can be hard to like aesthetically bring all of those people together. So in our flagship store, the bones of the space were already here. So it was a retail store when the Great Recession hit in 2008 and had been kind of in flux since then. So all of the fixtures and all of that stuff was here, which was great for a new store needing to open up that didn't have, the capital to fully furnish a retail store. So that was great. It gave us all of these fixtures that we could use in merchandise and things like that. So the downtown store just has a really bright feel. We do try to streamline, putting things together that make sense. So putting pottery with pottery, putting jewelry with jewelry, things like that. But it has been a transition. Just having to work with what was already here. Yeah. That experience was totally different in the new store when we got to start from scratch and really see our vision come to life in this blank canvas. So that was a totally different experience. That was really fun. The Old Colorado City store just has a totally different vibe. It's very homey and cozy and, very chic. So, we've had kind of both ends of the spectrum, both with their challenges, but we really love the aesthetic of both of our stores, and we're constantly trying to come up with ways to keep that fresh.
Oh, exciting. Okay, and then I want to talk about, so you've got 80 vendors currently. You said you've got some actually lined up on, kind of in the waiting line. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk, because you've mentioned the word fit, and I am huge here. We talk about fit here quite a bit, both with the people that we hire or bring on, Sure. and then also with our clientele or our customers that we're going to, agree to work with. Yeah. Can you talk about your idea with fit with Eclectic Company and what that looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the beginning, we didn't have the luxury of being able to, pick those people for personality fit. It was like, do you make things? You want to sell them? We'll take you. So it's definitely been a process and something that we've learned over time. But, bringing people in that really see our vision, we're huge on, collaboration over competition. There's just no room for people that are willing to step on others to get ahead. And so making sure that we understand where that person is coming from and what their value system is before we bring them in. So, just being able to have a conversation with them about what the culture is here. We're all about diversity and inclusivity, and we don't tolerate, other isms here. So, just being able to make sure that we're all on the same page and that these people understand that this is a safe space, but only so long as, we bring people in that believe in that as well. So it has been a process over time, and being willing to let go of people that maybe don't fit our vision. So, sure, it stinks we have an open space, or, we have a gap in having a vendor in a particular space. But you know what, at the end of the day, it's better to preserve the ecosystem that we have here than to allow, something to fester for too long. So
I completely agree. And I find too, a lot of times then, that once the culture is actually done right, and that enough people understand it and are part of it, that person, or, that somebody that's not the right fit will ultimately actually weed themselves out.
Totally. Yeah, we've definitely seen that as well. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. And then you mentioned a minute ago, you mentioned pottery, and I do have to ask this as an aside.
Sure.
Just because during the pandemic, you're always looking for great shows to watch and things like that. And not sure if you've seen it or not, but there's a fabulous show called The Great Pottery Throwdown.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Highly recommend it. It's on HBO Max. If you have it, if not, it's worth just getting Max. But they have a new season coming out. But it's done by the same people. I'm pretty sure it's set up the same way as the Great British Baking Show.
Sure. Yeah.
But highly recommend even to your vendors to watch. It's just a fabulous thing to watch pottery be made, and they do like kiln firing and some other things, which is very, very cool. So
I know, I feel like I missed a calling in pottery. I just love it. I love watching people do it, and I love the finished product. And so I'll definitely check it out.
I remember when I was a teacher, I think we went down to Van Briggle a couple times here in town. Which was a pretty neat experience. And then prior to that, before watching the pottery show, my only experience was just that scene in Ghost. But outside of that, it's like, that's all I really had. So
cathartic.
Yeah. And then, so you mentioned too, some of the issues, not even issues, but kind of how it also got sped up, the online ordering. Can you talk about that a little bit, and kind of, the opportunities, or, what your website has now that you guys have for buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my idea of Eclectic was really to serve as the antithesis of Etsy and those things, because when you have something handmade that's one of a kind, you want to feel it, touch it, smell it, wear it, whatever it is. It's not something that's so easy to do online. So, but that is just kind of the state of the world. Even without coronavirus, online shopping is a big thing. So kind of striking that balance of, products that are handmade, but not specifically one of a kind is what we offer on our website. Often we find, that people order through the website either for a curbside pickup or for home delivery, just based on their circumstance or what their level of comfort is shopping. But we do a fair amount of shipping as well. And that can come in the form of somebody is local and found something they really love and want it to get to somebody that's elsewhere, or vice versa. Somebody lives elsewhere, a lot of handmade, but not specifically one of a kind, because there is so much work on the back end of, photographing and listing things that we don't do much one of a kind.
That's interesting, because I was watching the movie The Intern with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. And so they do a lot of their company, Anne's company, in that movie is the online ordering.
Yep.
And there's a few scenes where, and I wonder if you guys actually end up going through this back and forth of like the photo being too big, the size of the photos, kind of the zoom in of it, things like that.
Right.
Do you guys have to have those sessions?
Oh, yeah. It's exhausting. Like having an online store is a job in its own. So, I haven't touched on it much, but the way our model works is that vendors actually contribute time in the shop in exchange for a very low commission that Eclectic takes. So, we have vendors that have had, for 1 month, I'm unable to come to do my hours in the store because of a surgery or coronavirus or whatever. And so we often outsource, if you will, projects like that someone can do from home. They can photograph, they can write descriptions, things like that from home. So we really use the manpower and the skills inside of Eclectic to get things done, because having an online store is a full-time job in itself. So
absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. You guys are crushing it right now. I do want to ask you too, as one of my last closeout questions is I have two daughters. They're both in their early 20s. And so as a female-owned business and as a female entrepreneur, like, what advice would you give to, women out there who are just, like, should I not take the jump? What do I do? How do I find my passion? Kind of what advice would you give to women out there?
Gosh, that's such a big question, but it really comes down to what lights you up, and what really gives you, at the end of the day, what do you feel energized by? And there's absolutely a way to monetize that and to make a business out of it. And my biggest advice through opening Eclectic is you don't have to do things the way that people like have historically done them or have always wanted to do them. And when this concept was playing around in my head, I did a lot of research, like where is this happening elsewhere? Obviously the concept of a co-op is not new. That's not something that Eclectic invented, but the model of the way we exchange, work for commission and we monetize the way that we value our makers' time is really what makes us unique. And I couldn't find that happening anywhere else. And I was like, okay, is that because other people have tried it and it doesn't work? Or is that because, it's just unconventional? And so far, my takeaway is it's just unconventional. And if you have the right team in place and people that are genuinely in it for the collective and for the community, it works wonderfully. And so, don't feel like just because it's not being done currently that should hold you back. And know your worth. Don't be afraid to ask for, payment for your skills. And that's something that I am still learning. And I think that especially young women, we're not really taught that from a young age. So know your worth. Don't do things just because they've always been done that way, and pursue what lights you up.
Thank you so much for that. Okay. So Peri Bolts, congratulations. You have survived the 30-minute interview.
That was great.
And so I've got two final questions for you that I ask everybody at the end of each show. So the first question is, what is your favorite place in Colorado?
I just absolutely love Colorado, and I constantly am finding, new sources of awe and wonder and wanderlust and all of those dreamy things. But my favorite thing recently has been the drive between, like, here in Breckenridge, between Colorado Springs and Aspen. And I made that drive a couple of times this year. And obviously during the fall, for the fall colors, it's just unmatched. Yeah. But any time of year, it's just so beautiful, and every twist and turn you get a different view. So I guess that'll be my answer.
Perfect. And then my second question is, if you were not the founder and owner of Eclectic Co, what would your dream job be?
Well, you know what? I'm trying to make my dream job my reality every single day. And I think that in 2021, what's really opening up for me is business coaching, and really not just operating a storefront, but how can I make each and every one of these vendors realize their goals and their dreams. And so, Ani and I are really committed to doing more of that work in 2021. So business coach would be my answer. And I am taking those steps every day to get there.
Absolutely love it. I listened to a gentleman, his name's David Nagel, and he has a podcast out, the Successful Mind podcast, and the Art of Business podcast. That's really fabulous. But one thing he even talks about, and he does a lot of coaching himself, but he's like, if you don't have a coach, he's like, look at people that are successful and doing well, they have coaches. Right. Everyone needs a coach if you want to keep figuring out how to get better and better. Yeah. And that's just it. You look at even somebody like Michael Jordan back in the day, he was great on his own, but then he needed Phil Jackson to kind of help him get to that next level and get coached up a little bit on how to play differently. So I think it's so vitally important. Yeah. What a great answer. Well, Peri, where can people find you guys then? So we talked about your physical location and your website. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so shopeclecticco.com is the website. You will find a list of all of the vendors there. It says which location or both that they are in. Eclectic Co and Eclectic OCC on Instagram. We are always adding new products and posting those to our stories. And feel free to shoot us a DM if you're not in Colorado Springs, or if you see something that you've got your eye on and want to know more specifics on it. Feel free to shoot us a DM. We're super accessible. We'll do whatever it takes to get those great goods to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Hope everybody has a great day today, and we will talk to you all later.
Appreciate your time.